Why, hello and welcome everybody. It is Pohx again, and today what I want to go ahead and talk about is kind of like the updates, or I guess like completed version of my Blight character in Breach Hardcore. So this character is currently level 94, and I'm just going to give you guys kind of like a complete overhaul of how it works. But first, what I want to do is tell you guys that if I were to weapon swap to a 500 ES shield with a 800 plus ES chest piece and recraft both of my rings, I could probably be at like 18 or 19k energy shield. Anyway, though, that's for a completely different story. That's for a bossing setup. What I want to go ahead and do really fast is just show you guys in a t11 map, nothing too crazy. It's just Enfeeble Beyond, really, in a t11 map, just to show you guys kind of how the build performs for those of you guys who have forgotten a bit. So let's go pop this in. And then I'll go over my links and everything again after this. Oh, actually, my mouse is not set correct. One sec. Alright. Now, I am very happy so far with the performance of Blight. I definitely can see its weakness after playing it to 94. And I think the biggest weakness of Blight, with the exception of the clear speed meta, because it does not really fit the clear speed meta, like you can make it, but it's just not really designed for it, is Blight, in my opinion, is not really the best when it comes to bossing. And the purpose of that is, the way the slow works of Blight, if you look at the mobs, they can't move right now, right? The reason why is Blight slows targets by 80% for, like, I don't remember what the base duration is. Let's just say 0.8 of a second, and that's modified by your skill effect duration nodes, along with temporal chains, and if you choose to get a Blight helmet enchant. Now, the problem with this is that it only applies one time, unless all the stacks fall off a target, I think. I've never really fully tested it, but I believe that's exactly how it works. So when you're bossing, you're only going to have a boss actually slowed by Blight, like, for, I don't know, the first, like, second or two of the fight. Give me 1 second. So, that's kind of why I don't really like it. Also, you have to be in, like, near melee range if you're, like, swapping in Conk Effect. So, if you're gonna do bossing, I'd pretty much recommend, like, Essence Strain or Contagion. Well, Essence Strain, essentially, because you get the Leech, you get so much more range, and the damage is comparable, if not even better, with Essence Strain. Although I haven't actually played Essence Drain it just because you can stack it and scale it with poison, whereas Blight cannot be scaled with poison. But I'm just going off of what everybody tells me, since most people think Blight is shit. For mapping, though, I really do like Blight, and I think part of the reason why I like Blight so much for mapping is literally nothing can attack you. Now, again, the same could be said for you could just off-screen everything, but, you know, there's always going to be mobs that are not off-screened, and even if I fight, like, curse-immune mobs, Blight is not a curse, so Blight still slows targets. Which is really cool. And then, of course, the synergy with Abyssal Cry is what really brings out, I feel, the power of both of them. Blight by itself is alright, but with Abyssal Cry makes up what Blight doesn't have, which is the, like, huge AoE. You could go, like, ridiculous, like, retard AoE mode if you went, like, for example, 2 times Reach of the Council, Carcass, but I feel like, you know, if you're playing hardcore and you want to, like, have a solid layer of defense, that's just not really feasible, in my opinion. So for that reason, I really like using Abyssal Cry. And Abyssal Cry makes up its single target for most map bosses, and even Breach Lords, because there's always adds next to it. Well, not always, but majority of the time there's adds next to a boss. You could also, hypothetically, and I will have to do this in another video, use Vol Breach and force a breach to open around a boss, and then just tank it with Vol Discipline, and after you finish tanking it, you'll just use Abyssal Cry and one-shot everything. If you guys want to see an example of Abyssal Cry, I should be able to get you a proper example here. Let's see. So, unfortunately, these mobs don't have much base life. Let's see. Don't explode. Please don't explode on me. Okay, so here's boss 1, here's boss 2, so we're just going to go ahead and go pop. And you'll see the Abyssal Cry will take them. Even in an Enfeeble map, because Abyssal Cry does percentage of life, as damage, along with Profane Bloom. That scales the poison really well. And it kind of just makes for a really nice synergy between both skills. And again, you can do this to pretty much any boss. This was an Enfeeble map. So, you know, if you take out Enfeeble, and you remember that Monster Life doesn't actually hurt you because Abyssal Cry scales off Monster Life, then, like I said before, the synergy just gets really, really cool with them. So, I want to talk about my tree a little bit and what I changed. If you want, like, leveling guides and stuff, I'd recommend you to go browse to the forums, because this is a CI variant, and I don't remember 100% what I did as life, so I posted it when I had it. Essentially, you start off with your energy shield, and well, actually, I don't really want to do like a leveling guide, but I want to show you, I guess, things I've kind of modified. I originally came and connected through practical application like this, but I decided to drop it and go for dual curse up here. And the reason why is by heading north into dual curse, I also get access to unnatural calm and corruption. And the 10% curse effect, even though I'm only actually running one curse that scales off curse effect, you're trading 1 point of cast speed versus curse effect, so I would take 10% curse effect for one node. I was thinking of getting Hexmaster if I wanted to go, like, if I ran, for example, Heretic's Veil, maybe getting Hexmaster and seeing what I could do and drop Arctic Armor and run Enfeeble, but I don't know how that would work, and I think that puts me like too heavy into curses, and I really like Arctic Armor how it is. Other than that, I don't really think I modified too much to the skill tree. I did get like 3-point jewels. The purpose of the 3-point jewels is because I needed dex for my rapid decay. So I decided, instead of spending a point in a dex node, why not spend 3 points, which is now 2 points, and then get a jewel. Jewels are very, very important for the build, because jewels can double dip your modifiers. So for example, like area damage double dips, increased damage with double dip, and then you can get your stat requirements and additional energy shield off of your jewels as well. So that is definitely something to take into account. As for the Ascendancy, Profane Bloom, Void Beacon, Wicked Ward into Vile Bastion. I went Void Beacon first because I didn't know how good Profane Bloom is. I'd definitely redo it as like this, just start from left and go right. Now, as for my gear, because this is like the main one that I've changed a lot since, I've got a helmet with a 30% increased Temporal Chains curse effect. I think this is like super crazy. I think this is like OP synergy for my build. We've got a Zergle's Crank, which I've been using. Nothing has really changed there. It's Blight, Controlled Destruction, Rapid Decay, Void Manipulation, Conk Effect, and Power. Inside my helmet, I've got Spell Totem, Wither, Faster Casting, and Arctic Armor cannot be linked. It has to be unlinked, or else it gets the benefit of Faster Casting, and then you can't run it on mono. For my chest piece, I've got Abyssal Cry, Void Manipulation, Added Chaos, Poison, and increased AoE. I haven't tried increased AoE swap outs for Conk because Abyssal Cry's AoE is actually way bigger than it actually displays. So like, if I were to cast an Abyssal Cry right here, the entire screen would blow up if I was in a breach. And I've shown that in a couple other stuff, or like if you ever see me running Breach Lords, it's pretty cool. But for bossing, I may try Conk. I haven't tried it yet, just because I like the overlapping AoE explosions, but maybe it's better to just use Conk Effect, for example, and just multiply the explosion damage by quite, a large amount. In my gloves, I've got Increased Duration, Vol Discipline, Vol Lightning Trap, Vol Discipline. You can totally swap it up if you want to run like Vol Hastes. It would obviously, boost you by quite a bit because you would increase your cast speed by a shit ton and your movement speed as well, but I prefer a more defensive approach. And then in my boots, I've got Temporal Chains, Blasphemy. Are these Volt? Oh, they are. Faster Casting, and Flame Dash. As for my rings, this is kind of the important one. This is like one of the few things I want to change with my build. So I'm using Chayula for stun immunity, and I'm using Dream Fragments for freeze immunity. Now, I know a lot of people dislike using Dream Fragments on CI builds, and they see it as like a shit budget ring, and I can agree to an extent. Yeah, it doesn't give you any ES, it doesn't really give you anything, but there's something about never being able to be stunned or frozen which just makes me actually really like playing CI. Normally, I dislike CI so much because, it's so based on your flask. If you don't have this up, you're shocked. If you don't have this up, you're frozen. Now you're perma-stunned. So I wanted to find a way to make CI enjoyable for myself. So I chose to go with Dream Fragments and Chayula, and that means I never have to rely on my flasks for movement. Meaning, like, I can never be frozen, and I can never be stunned. So the only thing that could happen to me is I can get bear trapped, I can get hit by a ball rain of arrows, or I can get chilled. Those are like some of the very few things, and I guess a siren could use screech. There's very few things that can actually slow or hinder my character's movement, which makes me feel very comfortable because I slow, mobs by a metric fuck ton to the point where they can't even move. So in terms of going after bosses, what I would recommend, which I showed at the beginning, I just bought a 500 ES shield, and I was thinking of getting like an 800 ES chest piece, and then using a weapon called Breath of the Council, which is only like 20 chaos. It's a very good one-hander. It gives increased AoE area damage, skill effect duration, and chaos skills. And I would recraft both. I would recraft and drop an essence, dream fragments, for a 2-stone ring. And what I would do is, I would roll. I mean, you don't have to do this, but I would roll it with Elrion just to completely negate my mana cost. Because Blight only costs, for example, 16 mana, so the Elrion ring -5 knocks it down to 11. You could even knock it down by -8, use 2 Elrion rings at -8. Your Blight now costs 0 mana and a 6 link, which means you can run no regeneration, and it won't be that bad at all. But anyway, what I wanted to do with them is there's a Leo craft, and I'm sad because I fucked it up and forgot about it. Leo gives you faster start of energy shield recharge. So by putting 2 of these on a ring, you could get anywhere from 20% to 40% faster start of energy shield recharge. And then obviously reworking the build a bit to get Essence Surge, you could get an additional 15% faster start of energy shield recharge. And I feel this is very good for bossing when you don't have leech, because you need a way of sustaining. So that is kind of like some little thoughts I've been playing around with. If I'm going to go for Shaper, this is what I'm probably going to do. I don't know if I'm going to stay Blight or if I'm going to go ahead and go Essence Drain. This is all kind of stuff in the future. More of like endgame expensive approaches to go into. But I'm really enjoying my character for mapping, and that's why I haven't really pushed much bosses. I've done Adziri here and there. Adziri's not really too difficult. If you fuck up, you die, so just don't fuck up. I actually have to do Adziri here in a second because I've got my prophecy for Queen's Vaults. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them down below. I just kind of wanted to update you guys a little bit because I haven't really given you guys any updates to my Blight character. But if you're interested, remember, I'm always streaming this character pretty much every day live at twitch.tv/Pohx. So feel free to check it out sometime. But I'm out for now. Hope you guys had a wonderful time. If you liked the video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you boys all tomorrow. Take care, everybody.